Hey, hi, hello, friends. It's almost October. Hello, friends. Spooky season is pretty much upon us, and in the spirit of that, I've got a little bit of spooky green going on. It looks a lot more highlighter on camera than it is in person. Hi to anyone that's new. There's always a couple of you, so hey, hi, hello, and welcome to my channel. I'm going to talk about Chantel. That's become a theme. I haven't really been focusing on Amberlynn very much. If you guys are interested in that, I'll put up a poll in my community section. So if you guys are interested in Amberlynn, I can also do that. It's just I found her incredibly boring recently, so I haven't really made a video. And a lot of what she's doing comes across as very like fake. So I'm even less interested in talking about her right now. Now, if you guys hear sounds in the background, sorry my window's open. I accidentally set off the fire alarm in my house, so it's a little smoky in here, and can't do anything about that. Let's talk about what Chantel's been up to. If you guys are at all following her, you know that there's been a lot of craziness happening with her, as always. She and Nader are maybe back together, maybe not, or maybe he's in jail. We have no idea what's going on with him. What we do know is that the cops were called to her house yet again for like the 4 billionth time. And her and him are a little bit on the rocks. She disclosed more information about what actually happened during the abuse. Every time she talks about him, it makes me like this guy less, which is kind of hard to do because I really don't like him a lot. Anyway, this is the video that she put out yesterday. This is, by the way, once more an edit from Just Saying, who is doing God's work. She condensed like 4 hours worth of lives down to 30 minutes. And the video that I'm talking about, I'm going to pull up the name exactly so you guys know, because, you know, I'll forget. It's like Foodie Beauty for 4+ hours in 30 minutes. And she's condensed down the 2 lives that she's condensed down, one of which is deleted at this point, so I don't even think you can find it. I tried looking on Kiwi Farms to get the original name for it, but it's like Beeze, Beeze, Therapy Beeze, and More Beeze. And so this has got a lot of information in here. She did a very, very good job. And I went just through and I clipped out about 7 minutes worth of content. That's the only parts that I really have anything to say about. You know me, I don't really talk about stuff that I think that her words speak for themselves, or I don't have anything really to add to it. So please do go sub to Just Saying if you guys haven't already, to both her main and her second channel. She is doing the Lord's work, and really, honestly, without her edits, I would not be even remotely as up to date as I am, because I have no idea what's going on with Chantel 9 times out of 10. She breaks up and gets back together with him so incredibly often that it's very difficult for even me, who's I think I'm more interested in her than a lot of like passerbys are in her channel. You know, like, it's weird, but in a way I kind of feel like she's a dysfunctional part of my life, and I do watch her on a pretty regular basis, like hence parasocial relationship, you know. And even then I feel kind of lost because she flip-flops. Like every 2 days she will break up and get back together with him, and as a person with, like, you know, a job and a life, it's really hard for me to keep track of what's going on with her. You know, like, one of my friends is about to give birth and I have like a whole bunch of stuff going on. I can't be bothered with this. This is just like nonsense to me a lot of the time, you know? Like, she's complaining, he isn't picking up his phone. Anyway, with all that said, there are a lot of very serious, heavy things that she also discusses, especially in this video, in the 2 videos that have been condensed down, right? So I'm going to go through the clips here. Like I said, about 7 minutes. Let's get into it.
Why did you edit and upload Nader's new video? I didn't upload it. I had already started helping him with the editing process. So I finished it.
Many would qualify that as helping him. I mean, you didn't have to finish editing his video any more than you had to start editing his video. I can understand if this is a person that you love, that you want to help them, that you want to improve their lives. But once you break up, like, fuck, girl, let it go. And I don't just mean that, you know, because she's emotionally invested in him. He is a grown man. He is her age, or I think he's like 40. He's maybe a little bit older than her. There is no reason that he cannot go on YouTube under God's blue sky and look up what he needs to and learn what he needs to. There is no reason why she has to be the one to do it for him. I mean, let's be frank here. Chantel isn't exactly like a tech genius, right? Like, her video qualities aren't what you would call like deep dives, right? You aren't looking at like a D'Angelo Wallace or a Sparky Valentine video, right? Like, this is not like a swoop production. So when you're sitting here and you're watching her, it's very basic editing. It's the kind of stuff that has like built-in tutorials, both either on the software that they're using or like on YouTube. There's a billion people probably talking about it. There's a billion articles on it telling her to do basic stuff. That's all she's doing. I don't understand why this man can't learn to do it himself, unless he's a complete Luddite. And quite frankly, I am hopeless when it comes to technology, and even I manage to figure out a lot of the basic editing, right? It's just a matter of investing a little bit of your time into it. So why can't he do that? He doesn't seem to have a job. He isn't doing anything productive. I don't understand why he can't learn to do it himself.
Actually, I do want to talk about that a little bit. I don't hate him. Like, I don't know how to make people understand that. Like, I don't hate this person. I don't want them to be stuck. I don't want them to just leave them high and dry. If I can help him help himself, I would prefer to do that. So him learning how to edit, you know what I mean?
Right, but you aren't leaving him high and dry. High and dry would imply that you're not doing for him something that only you can do for him, right? So say, for example, he has a outpatient procedure and you were his scheduled ride. Like, abandoning him for something like that would be leaving him high and dry. You not doing a simple basic task for him that he himself can do pretty easily for himself, that's not you leaving him high and dry. That's you taking a step back from making his life easier. Inconveniencing someone isn't the same thing as abandoning someone. And I can understand having complicated feelings for people. You know, it's hard. It's difficult. There are people in my life as well that I have a difficult relationship, let's just call it that. It doesn't mean that you have to continue to make yourself available for people who don't care about your health, your well-being, about any aspect of your life. And that's what she's doing. This guy does not give a singular shit about Chantel. And yet here she is talking about how she doesn't want to stop editing him, finishing editing his videos for him, because God forbid he have to Google how to do it himself.
No, I'm not saying that because I'm saying I want to make it work. Because the problem still remains that, like, what happened affects how I feel today. Even though I was like, yes, I want to make it work. Like, I just really need to focus on myself. Like, I can't be in a committed relationship with somebody, you know? Especially when I have trouble, like, after 2 days I have, like, a panic attack, you know?
All right, I'm a little confused what she's trying to communicate here, where she's like, well, I don't know if I'm committed to making it work. Well, you know, I am thinking right now that maybe I'll make it work. I'm a little confused. If you followed her train of thought a little better, or you watched the original video, please do let me know, because your girl is lost. But yeah, she really does have a lot of work to do in herself. I've said before, I don't believe in the idea of, you know, first you work on yourself, first you learn to love yourself before you can be in a relationship, because sometimes the idea that other people could love you is enough to drive you to try and better yourself. Any way that you get to that part is a good way to do it, you know? So I don't really believe in that idea, because I think it gives people who have mental health issues or who have issues within themselves that they have to work out, the idea that they can't be loved by others because they can't love themselves. And I think that that's a pretty harmful message to send to others. That said, there are some things that I think you should at least have self-awareness of before you throw yourself headlong into a relationship, right? Like, I don't think that Chantel is at all aware of what a healthy boundary is, because she's talked about boundaries before, but she only ever talks about boundaries when it comes to people who are trying to get her to do something that she doesn't otherwise want to do. She understands boundaries only in what brings her unhappiness. She doesn't seem to understand boundaries that you put on people who you otherwise would listen to, or that you otherwise do want in your life. She doesn't understand putting boundaries that don't exactly make you happy. They aren't what you want, but are what you need, you know? And she doesn't seem to understand how to put boundaries in place for certain people. Like Nader is a big one. She doesn't understand how to enforce those boundaries with him. And I think that that's a really harmful idea. She really needs to understand how to communicate that to him. And I'm saying communicate that to him and not leave him, because I honestly think, I 100% think that she needs to leave him. I think he's a toxic individual. I think he's only going to harm her in the long run. But I don't think that she's in that space just yet. I don't think that she has the ability to make that kind of decision for herself. And while I would love to sit here and be able to say, you know, leave him, leave him, leave him, I don't think she's there. So for anyone else watching this who is not in an abusive relationship, but is maybe in a toxic one, right? There's a difference between those two. Understanding boundaries, I think, is a really, really important idea. For her, I don't really think even enforcing boundaries is going to help. If he is as manipulative as a guy as I think he is, and what she's shown has definitely pointed to that, I don't think there's anything she can say to him that's really going to get through, or any boundary that she puts forth that he'll obey, you know, that he'll adhere to. But I think knowing that she set boundaries and that he's blowing past them might help her reconcile her to the fact that this is not a person that she should be with.
Yeah, like deep down, exactly. I still didn't forgive him fully. And it's been like it resurfaces by me taking out my anger on him and just like making him mad over and over again. And, you know.
All right, two things here. First of all, I paused it when she said that, but it should be included in this section. She says that she has a panic attack, and then later she says, you know, I take out my anger on him every couple of days. You know, I remember that, and I take out my anger on him. So first, I have had exactly one panic attack in my entire life. And it was maybe the worst experience, one of the worst experiences. I won't say it was the worst, but it was one of the worst experiences I've ever had. The best way that I can describe it is if you've ever broken a rib and they've applied like they don't really do that anymore, but if you've ever broken a rib or bruised a rib and they apply like the rib tape to you, or if you've ever had to tape your chest for any reason, or if you've ever worn a corset, it's kind of like having something like that around your chest just pulled a little too tight. So my experience is that I've actually had someone tape up my ribs before. That's why I went with that. But it feels like trying to inhale and not being able to. Like there's nothing you can do to get enough oxygen in. It is horrifying, like actually horrifying, like drowning on dry land horrifying. And I thought I was going to die. 100%. I thought my heart's going to stop beating and I'm going to die. And it was terrifying. So she's not, I understand she's using it in a very, very colloquial sense, but that's not what a panic attack is. And I don't want anyone to misconstrue that. Second, more importantly, is that, you know, she says that every few days, she'll let out her anger on him because, you know, she hasn't really gotten over that. Some things you cannot forgive. There is a difference between moving on and forgiving, like forgive and forget, right? There are some things that you cannot forgive, but that you do, the impact of them on your life fades over time, right? And I think domestic abuse is one of them. And I think there's some things that you can both forget and forgive, you know, where you forgive the person and eventually the sting of it goes away and you can resume your life as normal. That's how I think it is with a lot of like just domestic squabbles, right? Like your partner didn't wash the dishes or whatever it is, or forgot to do the laundry or whatever, right? You get irritated with them, you get mad at them, you get angry at them, and you talk it out and it's like, all right, fine, whatever. And then you forgive it and you move on, right? Very petty little things like that. But there are some things, big things as well. Sometimes people cheat and their spouses forgive them and hopefully they don't do it again. But, you know, this is not one of them. I don't think domestic abuse is something that you can really forgive and move on from. I really don't. I think it does a kind of damage to a person that I don't think is easily managed while you're remaining in that relationship. So And then, you know, she reiterates something that I think is really harmful. She says, well, you know, I take my anger out on him, and I like make him angry. And I really, 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 really wish she would like think on these things that she says, because that's so telling. She's like, well, you know, I haven't really been able to get over it. So every few days I get mad, and then he gets mad. What reason does he have to get mad? If you're still mad at him about the fact that he hit you and he's genuinely remorseful, then he'll say sorry 1,000 times. When I am sorry about something, when it is my fault, I am willing to say sorry 1,000 times for it. Because I'm not owed anybody's forgiveness. And so if the person is willing to give me a chance, it is on me to apologize. That's if I still want them in my life, of course. And he seems to want them in their life, right? So I don't understand why it is that he seems like to get mad at her about it, because that doesn't seem like an appropriate reaction. You hit someone. She gets to be mad at you, and she's willing to forgive you nonetheless.
I need to definitely focus on myself, because I've just been like getting worse and worse. Not better.
I would agree with that.
You know, like I'm supposed to get better.
That sentence right there is telling. I'm supposed to get better. The thing about healing from your past and improving as a person is that it's not a passive action. It's work. It's unlearning behaviors, right? I forget where it is that I read it. I want to say it was Tumblr, but someone's like, they were talking about destiny, but I think it just as much applies to like a person's characteristics. A person is like a path in like soft dirt, right? If you roll over the same path multiple times, that same exact route multiple times, it's not that it's exactly set in stone, but after a while, it just becomes easy to go through those same inlaid grounds, right? Like those same routes over and over again, those same trails that you've already forged. It becomes harder and harder and harder to take any other path, to go over any other spots on the ground, because your wagon wheels are sort of engraved in it, right? Like, I hope I hope what I'm trying to say has come across well. It's just that sometimes when you do something over and over and over and over and over again, it just becomes a part of who you are. And unlearning that, going over untreaded ground, becomes quite difficult. Sometimes you need someone else pushing the wagon, right? That's why when she says, you know, I'm supposed to get better, no one is supposed to anything. You're not owed improvement in your life any more than you're owed forgiveness from other people. You need to work towards that. You need to work with a therapist to get there. You have to unlearn bad behaviors. It isn't handed to you. And it's the same thing with Natter. It's not that you're going to one day magically wake up and then all of a sudden you think to yourself, well, this is fine. You know, I've obviously fixed him because he's obviously now a better person. Unless he's willing to do the work himself, there is nothing you can do externally that's going to make a difference. And also, there is nothing in your relationship that's going to change unless one of you changes, right? That carries over. You want a different relationship, you have to make one for yourself. You have to be a different person. This just isn't what you're doing. You're not doing that. You're not improving. You're not changing your relationship. You haven't set any new boundaries. You just keep repeating the same thing over and over and over again and expecting new results.
And relationships are so demanding. Clarissa Mansbridge.
So she says, just briefly, she said relationships are so demanding. They are. Yeah, they are. It's a demanding thing because you have to keep consideration and care for yourself as well as another person. And that's why being a parent, I think, is such a difficult task, because now you also have to focus on other people who will not be focusing back on you, because that's just not how children work, right? So you have to be careful. You have to be careful. And you have to put yourself first, because that should always be your number one priority. And she needs to differentiate between what she likes and what she needs, what she wants and what she needs. And I think if she can do that, then I don't think relationships will be quite as hard as she feels them to be right now. Because pouring yourself into someone else's needs can really hollow and empty you out and make the situation feel even worse. Even if the person isn't a toxic, abusive, manipulative monster the way that I think Nader is.
Look at what you have put all your audience through. You're just as vile as this whole situation. There is no helping you. What? The fuck? I don't understand comments like that. What did I put you guys through? Did I force you to watch my videos? Did I force you, Clarissa Manscape, or whatever your fucking name is? You put yourself through it. Okay? Oh, sorry. Sorry, I didn't think of you when I was going through abusive part of our relationship. I didn't think of you when I made decisions in my life. I apologize. That still doesn't, like...
Okay. She doesn't force anybody to watch her videos, right? There's two parts to this that I want to address. First is that just as much as she's not forcing anybody to watch her videos, nobody is forcing her to watch our videos. No one's forcing her to watch my videos. Well, she doesn't watch my videos, but like FFG's videos, for example, right? So when you go on to FFG's channel and you rage at her because she made you feel a certain way, well, no one made you watch that. So what applies to, I forget the person's name, I think she said Alyssa. What applies to Alyssa applies to you as well. And then secondarily, yes and no, right? I think you are in some way responsible for the effect that it has on your audience, not the audience at large. But I think that when you are looking at your VIBs, your most loyal subscribers, the way that you interact with them gives them the impression that you are friends, that you are close, that you are someone that they should emotionally invest themselves in. That is the way that you treat them. So when you do things like this, when you come on here and you say, I'm having a really hard time, you know, like he's beating me, he's doing all these awful things, and I don't know what to do. Right? And you present yourself as being remorseful and sad and hurt. People believe you, right? People who care about you, as a lot of these people do because they've developed a parasocial relationship with you, care about you. It's one of the reasons they are part of your members only chat. It's why they give you money, right? And you interact with them a lot too, especially people who are like very, very highly involved in your channel, who used to be mods and shit, you know? So when you turn around and you're like, okay, well, you know, now I'm getting back together with this guy, and they go, you were just saying to us that, you know, he's so toxic and he's terrible and he's awful. How can you get back together with him? And you essentially just do the equivalent of like, put your fingers in your ears and go, no, I can't hear you, never happened. How exactly are they going to feel? And that's what she means by, you know, how can you do this to your audience? Because you create this expectation of equal emotional investment on both parts, that they should care about you and that you care about them. Because you remember their names, you did the charity thing for Annie P, you know, she creates this feeling that you guys are my friends, you guys are my friends, you know this, I speak to you guys in like real life and all this and all that. Because only her diehards are right now still in her corner. So when she flip-flops on them like this, when she brings up something as serious as abuse, and then she flips back and she says, no, well, I'm still going to get back together with him, you are manipulating and playing with their feelings. That isn't the same as just saying, well, if you didn't want to watch it, you shouldn't have watched it. They chose to watch you because you made them important. It's like if you had friends in real life, and they were your friends, and you talked to them and you bitched about how awful this person is and how he's abusing you, and then the next day you go back to them immediately. What exactly is it that you think your friends are going to do? They're going to listen to you for a while and they're going to get sick of your shit. They're going to tell you off. They're going to leave. That's what she means by how could you do this to your audience? Because you create frustration and unhappiness in your audience, and with your actions, with your behaviors. And she says, oh, sorry, I didn't think about you when I was living my life. You didn't think about them. You didn't think about the people who care about you when you made this awful, terrible, toxic decision for yourself. And yes, YouTube audience is one thing, but there's also other people in her life. She didn't care about what Shannon would think. She didn't care about what her parents would think. She didn't care about what her sister would think. That's why she's on the outs with everyone. She didn't care about what BB would think, despite the fact that she says all the time, oh, BB and I are close, and, you know, you gave me such good advice, and blah, blah, blah. You didn't care about any of those people. You just did whatever you wanted to do. And now you're living with the consequence of that. And yes, eventually people will walk away. But before they walk away, they get to that point of like peak frustration, of peak anger with you. And you don't want that either. You don't want, you're saying, I'm not responsible for your feelings. Well.
Me going back with him, how is that like me doing something purposely to hurt you guys? Like, I don't understand that. All these old biddies that watch your work with they were upset. Well, that's not my fault. That's not my problem. My feet stink. I'm not responsible for people's feelings, right? I mean, you know.
Okay. She says, I'm not responsible for people's feelings. That's true. She's not responsible for people's feelings for the most part, right? If you are giving her money and you become emotionally invested with her as part of a parasocial relationship, as much as I hate to say this, that's on you. You know, she is absolutely trying to manipulate your emotions, and I do think she should be held responsible for that, but also understand that A, this is Chantal, B, this is the internet. If you need to understand that both of those things are things you should keep in consideration before you emotionally invest yourself in somebody, right? Chantal has a history of lying. You choosing not to believe that is on you. She is not responsible for your feelings. She is responsible for emotionally trying to manipulate your feelings, but I don't feel that way. I rarely, if ever, feel angry and disappointed in her. I feel I do feel angry at her, but I don't ever feel hurt. I guess I should say. I don't feel upset. I can be disappointed in Chantal's behavior without having a heartbroken underlay to it, because I am not like, I guess this sounds kind of mean, but I don't care about her, you know? Like, I reserve my care and devotion and love for people in my life who I deem worthy, and even honestly people on the internet who I deem worthy, right? If I think that you're having a hard time or whatever, I try and reach out and I try and make sure you're doing okay, just to check in on people. Like, that's how I am. But I don't do that with Chantal because I don't think Chantal is deserving of my care. I have a limited amount of empathy that I can extend to other people, and Chantal has burned through my reserve of it. That doesn't mean I'm not interested. It just means that I don't care, right? I can be angry at her, but you're not going to get a lot of those positive emotions out of me. And she's honestly, maybe she could get some positive emotions out of me, but it's been so long since I've been happy about anything she's done that it's hard for me to really reconcile the two. So yes, you know, absolutely. She's not responsible for anybody else's feelings. But then by that logic, nobody else is responsible for her feelings either. I said this before as well, but I can say whatever I want. If you feel a certain way about it, well, that's on you because you're choosing not to watch, right? You can't hold both ideas in your head. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying that one way. I think that I am a little bit responsible for her feelings. She's a little bit responsible for my feelings. And it's a cycle. It's a loop. But if she wants to believe that she's not responsible for anybody else's feelings, that she has no part, that even though she's emotionally manipulating people, if they get hurt at the end of the day, that's on them. That's fine. You can choose to believe that. But then understand that nobody else gives a shit if your feelings get hurt because French Fried Girl said something. That's on you, right? Because those are two very opposing viewpoints. Either no one is responsible for your feelings and you are not responsible for anybody else's feelings, or there is some overlap there and therefore you are responsible for the way that you're treating your audience.
We do love each other. And we're moving on from that incident. But I'm trying to move on, and then I get to like 2 days, and I feel repulsed. Like I need to fucking, I don't know, like I'm like, because of what happened, I'm not like, there's no closure from that for me, because he hasn't apologized.
Okay. I'm going to pause it right here. How can you guys be moving on from something if he's never apologized? And more importantly, how can you claim that that's all in the past if he's never apologized? If he's not sorry for his fucking actions, then how do you know that this will never happen again? As far as he's concerned, he got what he wanted. He got to fucking hit you and you came fucking back. Sorry, I should stop swearing. What is it exactly that's supposed to incentivize him to not behave the way that he behaved in the past? What exactly is it about your actions that is supposed to keep him from repeating his past behaviors? Because as far as I can see, he won. He's on top. He got to do what he wanted. There were no negative consequences for him. You still do all the shit for him that you were doing before. You pay for everything. So then what? What exactly is it that you're moving on from? As far as I can see, what you're doing, in fact, is accepting that this is a part of life. That he hit you, and that's a thing that happened. And well, if you want to continue to being in his life, then I guess it's just a thing that I'm going to have to accept. He wants you to accept that physical abuse is an acceptable part of being in a relationship with him, because he's never said, I'm sorry. He's never said that was the wrong thing for me to do. I'll never do it again. In so much as I would believe anything that comes out of the mouth of an abuser. But the fact that he hasn't even offered it up, he's not even pretending not to be a garbage person. And yet you're still just willing to, what? Try and work through it? What for? What reason could you possibly have to try and work through things with this man? What possible thing could it be that's convincing you, other than your fear of dying alone, which is the only reason I could think of why you would attach yourself to this man? Because you would rather have someone in your life who is like this than be alone.
I don't know. But I know it was a huge mistake even talking about this. Something like this online, you know. Hi, Jello.
And yet she's going to keep talking about it. She's never learned from the past. And I don't think she's really ever going to. She's talked bajillion times before about how she's never going to talk about it again. And then, of course, she goes back and she talks about it again. She can't help herself. She's incapable of learning from past mistakes. And part of the reason why it's really a bad idea for her to be talking about it online is because he's watching. Because he is a volatile person and he's hit her before and he's obviously not sorry about it. It's not safe for her. She genuinely should. I know she's done it at this point now, but that was more like the police asked her to file something. And we don't even know if it's like a report, because that's what Chantel's saying, or if they just wanted to like get her statement on paper or something. So theoretically the police is aware, but we have no idea. And we don't know if the police actually tries to do anything, if she'll actually assist them or hinder them in their investigation, if she's just going to claim that, oh no, it was all for the camera, because I wouldn't put it past Chantel.
There was more than that incident, though. You said so much more than just that. Let me show. Yeah, that was like the only like physical one, really. Or those other things.
This is the reason why I sometimes have a hard time being sympathetic to her, and this is a consequence of me having a hard time sympathizing with her, because on the one hand, you know, I really do want to believe that what she's saying is true here, and you know, that what she's implying in here is more that, you know, there's other things that happen, that, you know, maybe he was like emotionally or financially abusive towards her. But at the back of my mind, Chantel being the way that she is, I can't help but feel that every time he's ignored a text from her or something is another slight that she's recording in her books, and that's what she's talking about. It makes it really difficult for me to discern what are actual things that we should be concerned about and what are just Chantel made up problems that only she is concerned about, because she does have such a weird attachment style, and she's so incredibly like clingy and neurotic and like insecure, you know?
I mean, that's one thing for me, is like I always get blamed for everything that happens wrong.
She says that I get blamed for everything that happens wrong. And if anyone knows whether she means by us or by Nader, I would love to know. Sorry, banged my head on the table and caused the camera to move. If anybody knows who she's referring to when it comes to that, please let me know. I think that she's talking about Nader in this, because that would track the most with what she was saying before. But I haven't seen the original video, only just Zayn's edit. So I would love to know the context of that if you have context. That is sort of the classic way that an abuser works. Sorry about the laugh. I'm just like kind of uncomfortable with the topic. It's That's kind of the way that classically it works, because an abuser will do something and they'll put it on you. Like, I'm so sorry, honey, but why do you say things like that? You know, I don't mean to get mad, but then you do this and I can't help myself. You know, I love you. The only reason I'm saying that, you know, I should handle all the finances is because you know you're bad with money. You know, what have I said to you about those friends of yours? They just always fill your head with these lies about me, and you know you're kind of gullible. You should just let me pick your friends. You know, I don't think this is a good idea. You know how your parents are, and you're so easy to manipulate, and you always end up believing them when they're there. You know, this is what they do. This is what they do. They twist little bits of what you say to make everything kind of your fault, right? You believed your parents, and therefore that's your fault, because obviously that's not true. You know, you are bad with money. That's why I should do it. You made me mad. That's why I hit you. You know, it's all sprinkled over, of course, with a healthy dose of gaslighting, but that's literally what it is.
I mean, are people really that surprised that I've gone back to somebody that, like, I have feelings for, you know? I'm not saying it's a healthy relationship and that we should be together, but it shouldn't be surprising to people, really, that, you know, that it's hard to break up with somebody that you're in love with. And abusive relationships are especially hard to leave.
See, this is, if you have enough self-awareness to know that that is what you're doing, then you should have enough self-awareness to reach out to someone who can actually help, rather than bitching about it on the internet. And this is why my well of sympathy runs so dry for her, because genuinely it is a problem that a lot of other people face, especially when they're in abusive relationships. It's hard to break out of that dynamic. But it's not hard the way that she's making it out to be. She doesn't have any financial or emotional ties to him right now, other than the shit that she's paying for. He doesn't control the money, she controls the money. They're not living in the same place together. She has a safe place to go, her own house. You know, they don't have kids. There is no reason for her to be going back to him other than her own emotional problems. And those can be addressed with a therapist, and you don't do that. For all that she has a therapy appointment coming up, and then we'll get to that video where she discusses her therapy appointment a little bit. For all that, you know, you have a therapy appointment coming up, you don't follow through with that. You make an appointment, then you cancel it. You make a follow-up, and you don't follow through with it. You go to 2 sessions, and then you give up. You've never been to therapy sustained long-term. Like, of course, you're going to see these problems. Of course it's going to be an issue. I just think that if you can recognize the trap that you have set for yourself that you can't seem to break out of, then you should at least take steps to try and remediate the problem. But without remediation, this just smacks of excuse seeking. This just smacks of looking for other issues to blame your own negligence on.
Because of, like, the manipulation and very intense feelings. I'm having a really hard time. I don't know if it is love. I can't tell. If I'm done with
How can she say that she's like, you know, I don't really know if it is love, when she's claimed so many? Because, well, you know, I don't know why you guys are surprised that I went back to somebody that I have strong feelings for, that I love. But now she's saying, I don't really know if it is love. Which is it? It can't be both. You can't either be going back to him because you love him, or you don't know that it is love. I can understand that sometimes people confuse love for other things, but then you wouldn't have the awareness of that. That's kind of the important part here. You're aware that you're not sure if it's love or not, but you're still calling it love when it gives you an excuse to get out of ever having to change anything about yourself. This is the second video, by the way, that started. This is the post-therapy. I think, is this the post-therapy one? Yes, I think this is the post-therapy one.
Why would I edit his video?
Sorry, I think this is the pre-therapy one. I'm getting a little bit confused in my timeline here, guys. If you guys have all the titles of the videos in order, including the deleted ones, I'd really appreciate it if someone has that somewhere. I even went on the farms for the first time in a very long time to see if there was, like, some accountability of that. But then, of course, in the difficulty that is the farms, I sort of lost the thread of that as well. So I am quite lost. She's been deleting so much, uploading and deleting so much that it would take a better person than I to keep track of everything.
I guess I'm done being in a serious relationship. The being done part is like, I'm done with certain things. I'm not done like 100%. Like I said last night, I don't think I can just like completely leave someone stuck and like go from like loving somebody to just leaving them stuck like right then and there.
That's what you did to Shannon. I don't understand if you can do it to Shannon, why you can't do it with Dom, right? That's what you did to Shannon. You went from being friends to completely cutting her out of your life. So.
It's not your problem. I know, it's just hard. I don't understand why people are being hateful. Like, are you mad that I'm being... I don't know, like, I'm just not capable of, like, really hurting people.
You exposed your supposed best friend's abuse to the internet, to the vitriol of your 80,000 plus viewers. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah. And that's how floors stay clean, my friends.
She doesn't have a clue about what it takes to keep floors clean. Just sweeping while sitting in a chair. She didn't even sweep underneath the chair that she's sitting on. I can't imagine how clean she thinks her floors are now. I've seen the hovel that she lives in. That's a very petty point to get mad at. It just...
I just have more empathy, I guess, and compassion for people. Like, I feel like even people who hurt other people, who hit other people, who abuse other people, I feel like they're hurt too, you know?
But not Shannon, right? Not Shannon. Shannon doesn't get any of that sympathy, any of that care, any of that consideration. Only abusers do. Her best friends who were abuse victims, they don't get any of that. None of that for her, because they personally, did something that Chantel doesn't like and can't take back from the internet. So therefore it's unacceptable. But, the people who hit her, she needs to extend that empathy to. I can't help but feel that the reason that she's doing that is because A, he's watching, but B, also equally as importantly, is because she does want to get back together with him, right? Once more, even though all the things that we found out on the internet about him, despite all of that, despite the fact that he, allegedly kicked her cat, she still wants to get back together with this monster. And that's why she doesn't want to say something like, oh, I can't forgive him or whatever. She wants to give herself a soft out.
Because I come on here...
And this is the video, sorry. This is the post-therapy video. So that was a pre-therapy video. This is a post-therapy video. I think this is 3 videos combined into one. And she is all dressed to the nines. And, okay, it's hard right now for me to understand why. I know that a lot of people are saying that it's because she's going back to Dom's house after this. I would like to hope not, but that could be why. Though I will say, when I have a difficult day, when I have a presentation or a meeting or something like that I'm having a hard time with, or that I'm nervous about presenting, because sometimes you have to present your findings as a scientist, so it gets hard. And it makes it easier if I have on my clackiest heels and my reddest, fiercest lipstick. Because something about the combination of those two just makes me feel like a badass. When you're walking down the hallway and your heels are clacking on the tiles, it just makes me feel confident. And so I can understand that. It's one of the reasons I always have makeup on when I'm on camera. It makes me feel like I have my face on. I have, I don't know, just gives me a little bit of confidence. Not that I'm insecure in the way I look. It's the concept of hiding away a little bit of my face that I think gives me, wearing a mask of sorts, I guess. I don't know, I guess that does make me feel a little self-conscious. I have no idea. It just makes me feel better sometimes being on camera, for all that I don't really care all that much if people see my unvarnished skin. So it could just be that, you know, having a therapy session made her feel like I need to be my best. I need to look my best so I feel my best. But we have seen her get dressed like this to go to Dom's before, so.
I said, you know, in my life, I get so much judgment from people. You know, I said I have an intense, like, relationship I wanted to talk about, and just basically asked me, like, are you safe and everything. I'm like, yeah. Like, I just told her, like, everything, and just also just, like, obviously it didn't, like, it wasn't very long. It was, like, maybe, what, half an hour? So that went well. I'm happy that's over with. I was sober, just, like, ugh. But actually, I'm, like, super not nervous anymore, and I'm very just, like, I don't know. I said, basically, I just need somebody. I said, because, like, people are always telling me things I don't see myself. I said, if I can't see things, I need, like, another perspective, maybe some, like, professional opinion, and just stuff like that. Like, somebody who can, like, tell me how things are, you know, if I can't see outside myself on a situation. I think it's just better to, like, I don't know. It's obviously long overdue, but.
Why did you?
Okay. So that is pretty much the entirety of the clips that I have. What she said about therapy, I really agree with her almost on all accounts. It's really helpful having an outside perspective from somebody who's a professional, because not only can they listen to you and tell you what is right and what is wrong, you know, like with your thinking process, they can also kind of provide you with a point of view that you know is unbiased, right? And that's really helpful to me, because I love my family and friends, but they also love me, and therefore it makes it a little bit difficult for me to take what they say seriously. Especially, like, take my mom, for example. Like, I could straight up murder a bitch and my mother would support me. And so it's really hard for me to believe what she says to be true, because I'm like, how do I know this is what she actually feels versus what she has to say, because I'm her kid, you know? It's a little tough. That said, I don't know how much I believe that Chantel's feelings on this are true for her. Because right now she's saying, well, she's very non-judgmental. I get a lot of judgment, you know, on a day-to-day basis. But a therapist isn't there to support you 100%. They're not unconditional love the way that she always wants from people. A therapist will call you on your bullshit if they think that you have bullshit. That is a thing that therapists are actually exceedingly good at, is pointing out ways in which your thinking is flawed, in which you can amend things, in which you can better yourself. And Chantel often takes that to being hate and criticism. So I don't know how long this relationship is going to be all on the up and up, because I feel like the first time that the therapist tells her something that goes contrary to what she wants to hear, Chantel's going to be like, nope, this is obviously not the person for me. Part of therapy is understanding that you are not going to be right. Part of therapy is understanding that your way of thinking is obviously wrong. Otherwise, you wouldn't need therapy, right? There has to be something wrong for you to be trying to address what is wrong. And as silly as that sounds, it's really easy for people to go into therapy thinking, it's other people that need to be changed. How do I do that? You know? That's not what a therapist is there for. You only have control over your own actions. You only have control over your own situation. So if you want to change yourself to make your situation better, go to therapy. If not, then, I don't know, fucking learn mind control or something, right? Like, therapy isn't going to fix other people for you. It can only tell you how you can amend your actions so you don't get the same response that you were getting before. All right. So that was the video from me for today. I will have probably another video up, especially talking about the cop situation on my Patreon for my patrons, whom I love. Just talking about that, just talking through my thoughts about what she should and should not do with regards to the police report that I think she's filed. I'm going to probably pull the clip from Just Saying's channel again. We're just going to take a quick look at it, maybe discuss some of what the cops have said. I'm not really sure yet, but that'll probably be up like within the next day or so. So if you guys want to see that, hey, go to my Patreon. That was a plug. And you know, October is coming up. She says she's going to have some pre-recorded videos, so I'm really looking forward to that. Though I will say, I will be gone for a little bit of October. I will probably be gone for about half of October. You might see some shorts from me in the second half of October. If I think something interesting is happening, or if I just want to talk to you guys or whatever, but you probably will not see a full-on video from me, or if you do, it's going to be janky. I don't really know yet. But let's see. And that's it from me. If you guys like this video, thumbs up. If you guys didn't like this video, thumbs down. You know the drill. As always, I've got my social medias linked down below. I've got Instagram, Twitter, Patreon. Already talked about Patreon. Thank you to all of my lovely patrons. You make all of this possible for me. Oh, I didn't tell you to subscribe. Please go subscribe to my channel and help me grow. I would love it if I could get to 5,000 subscribers by the end of the year. That's a lot probably, but whatever. We can aim for it. We can try. If we really work at it, you know, you and me together. I believe in you. And as always, I'm Jasmine, the sequel, and I am not relatable. Peace.